I will now call the March 25th, 2026 regular Historic Preservation Commission meeting to order. Jeff?
This agenda was posted in compliance with open meeting law, and all members are in attendance, with the exception of Member McMahon, who's participating via teleconference, and Member Weingart, who's absent. A quorum is established. Thank you.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will you move over a chair, please? Thank you.
The first item on the agenda is the initial comment period. Public comment during this portion of the meeting must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. Each person has up to 3 minutes to speak on a specific agenda item. The public may call 702-589-9629 to provide comment. If there's anyone in the audience at this time that'd like to come forward, please do.
Hi, I'm Alan Goya of 413 Utah Street. Used to be a member of this committee. And I'm here because I want to talk about what government does well. I was talking to Michael Mays the other day about what works with government, and one of this is Historic Preservation Committee. And he says, why don't I come and express myself to your committee? Anyway, I want to tell you guys what a great job you're doing. In 2024, you gave the Historic Preservation Award to the LADWP Lodge up on the hill. And this is addressing why our award is so important. At that time, one of their chief, big executives came up, Joe Romalo came up and accepted the award. But it was an opportune time for him to get that award, because in the LADWP, they are re-looking at their history a little bit. It's always been kind of known as the water side of LADWP, a la Chinatown in the Owens Valley, and that's kind of been their history. But fortunately for us, the power side of the company has taken power, or taken more of an influence in the company, which is, I didn't know there was a water side and a power side, but there is a water side and power side. And the power side guys are there. And one of the things that when you gave them the award on 2024, they looked at their lodge and said, this is looking a little shabby here. And as they kind of looked at their story here, they found that Boulder City, and part of this is the acknowledgement of that award, told the story of LADWP better than any place else. Adelanto, all along the lodge, and they have they looked at what they had here, and they're kind of retelling their story. So I have here a cool little book, Discover LAWP in Boulder City. This is not for public dispersion. They are having monthly tours of the power lines from LA to Boulder City and Hoover Dam with their constituents, everybody from the mayor's office to council people to staff people, and they are kind of rediscovering and finding about the power side of LAWP. And they spend a night here, and they've said their quote, this is what their quote is, we're spending more time in Boulder City because Boulder City has preserved more of our history than any place else on the planet, basically. So I think we should be all very proud of what we are doing in Boulder City on this thing. I just want to tell you, it makes a big difference here, and I've shared document with Michael, but because of the work you guys are doing, makes a big difference. They said, they came here and they said, look at our logo still in the city building over here, the power lines, and so, they're ready to, my contribution basically is that they're interested in my, all the time, okay, it's been telling, the first murder in in Boulder City was of a LAWDP employee, and they love it. It's like the new Chinatown, so I think we can start a new book called Ragtown or something like that, but anyway, good work. You guys are doing great things. I'm glad to see that you have the hotels on the agenda, and you guys are doing great work, and it really is important to tell the story, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Alan.
And now I gotta go home.
Good evening, Commission, staff. Brandon Smith for the record. Just a quick, again, I kind of want to follow up Alan's comments. Just want to say that we sincerely appreciate your contributions to our heritage and our city character. It's really good to see some enthusiasm coming from this commission in regards to our historic preservation in a way that I think that's been kind of absent for a while. So thank you for all your work. Just want to chat again on agenda item 3, which is again the historic district, potential historic district of the motel district. Just thank you for that consideration. It's been a lot of work and it's been a lot of effort getting it to where it is now. And I just hope that we can get that over the line. I also wanted to comment about the upcoming Preservation Day, and I'll hope that we can really inject some enthusiasm into that day for this year with some, never before seen activities or tours or something of such nature where we can really engage the community and get the rest of the community about as excited about it all as kind of we are. It would be a great opportunity, and I've mentioned this in the past years, to potentially make some artwork available for the people who are residents or owners in the historic district, and really give them something to celebrate, hang on a wall, be proud of, if not at their front door, so they can say, hey, look, we're historic here in Boulder City. So nobody can take that away and pretend like they didn't know that they were living in a historic home in a historic city. Thanks again for all your work.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Bryn Delormier, and sorry, I don't have anything prepared. We just came from the Las Vegas Pizza Expo.
Did you bring any?
I'm stuffed and my feet hurt. We were doing some reconnaissance for the Flamingo and checking out equipment. I ended up eating way too much. I won't be eating again until April. But I wanted to thank everyone for considering the Motel Sign District. We're really excited to see this finally, hopefully, come to fruition. And just a comment that just happened on the drive home. I don't know if everybody here is aware that there's an event at the Boulder City Library this weekend. John L. Smith is going to be in town interviewing a former senator. And I spoke to him back in, it must have been summer of 2024, about the Bureau of Reclamation building Xeriscape Gardens there, which he also has actually a personal interest in. So I wrote to him earlier this morning. He just got back to me to say, yeah, he actually would be interested in talking and possibly shedding some light on that. So I know you can't have a back and forth with me, but if anybody here has any ideas for ways that we can possibly seek grants for that, or fundraise, or any money that may be able to help remedy that situation. We took a walk up through there, I think it was 2 nights ago. The site is still in terrible condition. So that is really all I have to say about that, and happy to speak with any of you afterwards, or I think most of you have my number. If not, I'm happy to share it. So thank you all again for all you do, and much appreciated.
Thank you. Anybody on the phone? Anybody else in the audience? All right. Seeing that there's no one else making comments, we'll close the initial comment period and move on to, agenda item number 1, approval of the minutes of the February 25th, 2026 regular meeting minutes. Do I have a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Agenda item number 2 for possible action. Commission consultation on Section 106 review for the Southern Nevada State Veterans Home remodel and addition.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. The Section 106 review process is a component of the National Historic Preservation Act from 1966. This process requires federal agencies to identify and assess the effects that their actions will have on historic resources. The Southern Nevada State Veterans Home is proposing an extensive renovation of their existing facility. And in addition, 42,000 square feet of additional indoor space. The Nevada Department of Veteran Services has hired KNIT Studios as their project manager, who has consulted with UES to conduct an environmental review to determine archaeological sensitivity for the planned improvements. And that document is attached for your review. This looks at areas of potential effect, or APE review. And we have on the phone Mark McGinty representing the applicant, who can provide a brief summary overview of their analysis and answer commission questions. And what we're looking for is for the commission to receive, or to basically concur with their findings, and this will go on to SHPO for their review.
Question, did Courtney have a look at this?
Yes.
And did she have an opinion, or?
No.
No. No, she doesn't, you don't have to ask for her concurrence?
Well, no, she's reviewed it and has no concerns.
Oh, but you don't need her concurrence?
Not, well, she provided her background in the staff report, so the concurrence is from the commission. That's what
Okay.
SHPO is looking for.
Gotcha, thanks.
Yep.
So Mark is on the phone now?
Yes. So, Mark, if you want to begin.
Sure, thank you. Commissioners, I appreciate the time tonight. This is, as you know, the Veterans Home's been out there for 30 plus years. It's on the, well, that's interesting. Should I turn off my video?
No, it works.
Okay, on my side, it just went off to infinity. The site is a 30-acre site that's been previously disturbed, and that was very apparent in the air map showing the location of it. Currently, right now, it's 82,000 square feet. It's 210 beds, approximately. And this is a actual bed reduction that's in line with the federal, what's sweeping the nation right now for the vets homes. Their mission now has been changed to have reduced the number of beds that include in each room enough for a loved one to stay with their client who's residing in the room. So we're going to extensively remodel. And when I say remodel, we're going to leave about 25% of the 82,000 square foot untouched, which is basically the kitchen and the central plant. And the exterior, the rest of the building is going to be torn almost all down in a phased construction process. It'll be 3 phases at this point. The contractor might think he wants to go to 4 phases, but be 3 phases. It will be, there will be clients in residence while we go through this. You know, and the single family, I mean, the families will be able to stay with their loved ones, which is a great mission for the VA right now. We are gonna basically, and I have some exhibits, I don't know what you have been presented. Or do you have the APN, the APE map in front of you?
I believe we have the APE and your proposed project and
The narrative.
photographs.
So you basically have the application for the 106, section
Correct.
106.
And then the 106 report.
Right, but if you look at the area of potential effect map exhibit, that's the existing site plan as it stands today. And on your right, the road on the right is Veterans Memorial Drive. And the address is basically 100 Veterans Drive. But as you look at it right now, we are gonna literally take the ends off of all 4 corners of that building and reinstate them to fit a module that allows a bedroom and a living room to be installed with its own restroom in there for 120 beds. And if you, what I didn't get a chance to show you is I have an exhibit on this. I can share my screen if you wish. Will you be able to see it?
I don't think we can see
Okay.
what you're
But
showing.
it basically stays in the same general shape, but the wings grow to add more space for rooms. And in this addition, we're going to place a new fire lane to the north of the site and add additional parking, which is greatly needed out there. And the parking sprinkled all around the facility.
Okay.
And it takes on a little bit different character. You know, it's got some great views and we took advantage of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So do you have any other questions?
Are there any questions from?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. So Mark, is the Veterans Home, is it completely full right now with the residents?
You know, they are starting to not bring in new residents. Now the National VA, they're still trying to secure their side of the funding. Nevada's secured their side, but the National VA is doing it, and they've got a time frame where they're going to start not accepting new clients, and the number will get down to where we can manage it and move them around while the phasing is going on.
So the new structure that we're discussing, that would add additional residents? Is that why the space is needed?
No, it'll be a reduction of beds, but the rooms are larger to handle the client and his or her loved one. So instead of what you see now, they've got 2 patients in 1 room and no facilities to have a spouse stay with them overnight or extended stays. And in the future, that's not the direction, that's not the new mission of the National VA. So we had to, it sounds counterintuitive, but we're reducing the number of beds, but we're also adding square footage to make the rooms large enough to handle the larger room size.
I see. So just a comment, I was actually on the Veterans Committee in the 90s when we were looking for a place to put the veterans home. And we came upon the space up here in Boulder City, and we went to Mayor Ferraro at the time and asked him if veterans asked if we could build the veterans home, and of course he said yes. And I believe the land is leased at this time for 100 years or something. But I guess my comment is that I'm all for this expansion. But as the veterans population in southern Nevada, as it grows and gets older, you're going to need more and more space for more and more veterans as time goes on. And I don't know if you've taken that into consideration.
Well, and actually, Commissioner, the Nevada Department of the Veteran Services has taken that into consideration. But currently, they built a new home that opened up 2 years ago in Washoe. That's the same 120 beds. And they're currently designing a third veterans home in North Las Vegas for 120 beds. And then they're trying to bring us into alignment with that.
Okay.
So
very
it was
good.
gut-wrenching for them, actually, sir. The work you guys did at that time to get the veterans home here, it was, you said it very nicely, but we know it was kind of a ruckus trying to get it here. And there was a lot of movement to get it here. And I love the location, spend time there myself with loved ones that have been there.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you. Is there any other comments?
I just had one question. As I sit here in this capacity, my only concern is from a historic preservation perspective. And I do read that the findings from Broadbent, the city, and UES is that there are no historic structures on the property, and this is not affecting any historic structures. But what I did want to ask is, you mentioned the addition on the wings. Would that affect the front facade as coming from the parking lot? And what is the age of the building as it stands today? Do you know that?
You know, we are going to affect the front facade. We're going to continue the facade as you see it, but it's going to be extended out. The same architecture elements are going to be repeated. The roof lines are going to change, and as you look at the site now, there's going to be a larger mass closer to Vets Drive, because we're going to actually put a brand new wing out there on Vets Drive. And the entryway will be completely relocated with a larger drop-off. If you visited there, you know the drop-off's inadequate now. It was probably adequate when it was first built. It's just not there, so we've extended the drop-off.
And the only reason why I asked that question, and it probably isn't a obviously big deal today, is let's say the building's 30 years old, and 20 years from now somebody decides to register it. This may affect that, but I don't think that should affect the commission's decision on this. But I just wanted to make that point. That's all. But thank you for the confirmation on that.
Can you tell us what the year or the date of when the building was built?
It was, and I'm totally going from memory here, okay, Commissioner? But it was in the late 80s.
Okay. Thank you. Not quite 50.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else have comments, questions? Do I need to seek a motion?
Motion for concurrence with the study's findings.
Okay. I make a motion to concur with the study's findings regarding the findings of no historic properties are affected. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approves. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. Have a great night.
You too. Agenda item number 3 for possible action, commission consideration and discussion regarding the draft intensive level architectural survey and of eligibility for the Motel Historic District.
So on October 22nd, 2025, the commission discussed the creation of a motel district. They directed city staff and Courtney Mooney with Broadbent and Associates, who is our senior architectural historian, to move forward with an intensive level architectural survey to better understand the historical context of the 9 motels located along Nevada Way. Per the survey results, Broadbent and Associate recommends nomination be pursued to designate the motel properties within the study area as a historic district, and Courtney Mooney is on the line and has a presentation to share with the commission and will answer questions.
Thank you. So will Courtney be going over this?
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Hi, Courtney.
Yeah, hi. Okay, oh, perfect. All right. Holly, you can go ahead and skip to the next slide.
Oh, Michael's got it. Tell her you're doing it.
Yep, I've got the controller, so.
Oh, okay, sorry, Michael. Okay, good evening, commission, staff, and members of the public. Broadbent conducted an intensive level survey and inventory of 9 historic age motel properties located within Boulder City. They're listed here and shown on the map. The purpose of the survey was to determine eligibility of the resources for Boulder City's Historic Property Register based on criteria included in the city zoning code, Title 11, Chapter 27 for historic preservation, and also for the National Register of Historic Places. The buildings were surveyed in late 2025 and early 2026, and background research was conducted on the buildings and structures on the motel parcels, as well as original owners if available. Historic building permits were used to determine which buildings had experienced alterations under new construction and when these activities occurred. And as a result of the survey and research, we define the period of significance for the study area as beginning in 1932, when the oldest extant motel was constructed, and ending in 1957, corresponding with the last year of construction of an extant motel built in the mid-century motor court type along Nevada Way. So the motel must be able to convey its significance as an early to mid-20th century motor court type motel built to accommodate workers, military personnel and their families, and visitors to Hoover Dam and Lake Mead. Alterations occurring within this period of significance would not necessarily impact a property's eligibility if most other aspects of integrity were retained. Next slide, please. A property could be considered eligible for listing in the National Register if it's over 50 years old and if it's found to be associated with any more of the following 4 aspects of American history. If it's associated under criterion A, if it's associated with historic events or activities. Criterion B, associated with an important person or in history. Criterion C, if it retains a distinctive design or physical character. And criterion D, if the resource has the potential to provide important information about prehistory or history. And a property must also maintain enough of the original qualities that help to convey its significance. And these qualities of integrity include location, design, setting, materials, workmanship, feeling, and association. Next slide. Okay, so the National Register of Historic Places designation process can be lengthy. And I want to add that the process, as I describe it here, can be longer or shorter, depending on comments that are received by various agencies. Sometimes the various agencies take longer to comment, or there might be some more revisions that are recommended. So this is kind of like your best case scenario. The first step is to conduct research and fieldwork, and then you prepare the draft National Register nomination form for review and comment by the HPC, and we'll go over that process in the next slide. Then you would complete the Nevada State Historic Preservation Office or SHPO screening questionnaire, which we did not do in this case because this process came up after we had we had already gotten past that process by the time we learned about the questionnaire. The approved draft is submitted to SHPO. SHPO responds to the nomination within 30 to 60 days with requests for revisions or approval. The approved draft is scheduled at the earliest Nevada State Board of Museums and History, or BMH, meeting. If recommended for approval at the BMH meeting, the SHPO must submit the nomination to the National Park Service, or NPS, within 90 days. And once received, the NPS has 90 days to comment with revisions or approval. And if approved, the property is listed by the keeper of the National Register. Next slide. Prior to submittal to SHPO, the City HPC will review the nomination and make a recommendation to City Council for review based on the criteria contained within the zoning code. The approval criteria is similar to the National Register. It must be at least 50 years old and comply with 2 or more standards below, which are that it must possess significance in history, architecture, archaeology, and culture, is associated with significant events or significant individuals. It represents and or embodies a significant architectural style, craft, or type, or represents an established and familiar visual feature of the city. Next slide. The 9 surveyed motels were constructed between 1932 and 1982 along Nevada Way, which was and is the city's main commercial corridor. They were developed to serve a growing clientele of automobile tourists that were visiting Boulder City, Hoover Dam, and Lake Mead in the early to mid 20th century. The properties and their associated signage were evaluated for individual eligibility to the National Register under Criterion A for association with automobile tourism and town site development and city planning in Boulder City, under Criterion B for association with the lives of significant persons, under Criterion C for design and construction as a representative example of roadside motel architecture, and they were evaluated collectively as a historic district, which is defined by the National Register as a significant and distinguishable entity whose components may lack individual distinction. So, as only 2 of the motel properties are recommended contributing to a National Register district, the surveyed properties do not meet the criteria for a national district, which requires a majority of contributing properties. Next slide, please. As a result of the survey, 1 property, the Flamingo Inn at 804 Nevada Way, is recommended individually eligible for listing in the National Register under criteria A and C. It's also recommended as individually eligible for designation on the city's the local register and as a contributing property to a potential local historic district. The existing sign was constructed outside of the period of significance and after 1957, and it is not recommended as individually eligible for listing in the National Register or as a contributing resource to a potential national district because of that. However, the sign is over 50 years old and it meets the city's local criteria, and it's therefore recommended as individually eligible for historic designation on the local register and as a contributing property to a potential local historic district. Sorry, I know this gets confusing, but I will summarize it in the end. Okay, next slide, please. 5 historic motels within the survey area, including the Flamingo Inn pictured previously, and the Oasis Boutique Hotel, El Rancho Boulder, and Sands Motels, and the Boulder City Inn are recommended as individually eligible for listing in the city's local register and are also recommended as contributing to a potential local historic district for motel properties. All right, next slide. Okay, now we'll just briefly go through the signs. There were 8 motel signs, as the Oasis no longer has a sign, that were evaluated for National Register and local eligibility, both individually and as contributing resources to a potential national or local historic district. The signs were constructed between 1960, with the earliest being the kitchenette sign, and circa 2008, which is the Best Western Hoover Dam Hotel. So of these, only 4 are only 50 years old, and none were constructed within the period of significance. So none are eligible for National Register listing. However, 3 signs, as we'll see in the next slide, are recommended individually eligible for listing in the local the local register and as contributing resources within a potential local historic district. Next slide. So these 3 signs include the Flamingo Inn sign shown previously, Nevada Inn sign, and the Sands Motel of Boulder City. Next slide, please. So in summary, the Flamingo Inn is recommended as individually eligible for listing in the National Register. No National Register district is recommended. 8 resources, including 5 motels and 3 signs listed here, are recommended as individually eligible for local designation and contributing to a local historic district. And based on this, Broadbent recommends a nomination be pursued to designate the eligible and contributing motel properties and signs within the study area as a historic motel district within the city's local register.
Yikes. Sorry.
I know it's
you.
confusing. Sorry.
No, not at all. I had a question, if I can say this correctly. So if the Flamingo Inn is eligible for the National Register, would you, and if you're writing up the National Register for it, do you say that the sign is non-contributing?
Well, yeah, because it's built outside of the period of significance. Yes.
Okay. That was my only question.
So if I get this correct, there's only one motel that qualifies for the National Historic registration. Is that correct?
Yeah, as an individual resource. There are 2 contributing properties, and one of them is the Flamingo and the other one is the El Rancho, but 2 is not enough.
Okay.
There would need to be 5 contributing.
But we have several that could make it so that we can have a historic district for the city.
Correct.
Okay. Can I make a?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Ms. Mooney, could you help us to understand what are the benefits to the property owners and the restrictions should we make this into a historic district?
So there, and you are, just to clarify, speaking specifically about local designation, correct?
Yes, just local.
Okay. The benefits to local designation are that property owners, if you had a district, property owners within the district have a tendency to maintain their properties more. They have a tendency to, and with the city's grant opportunities, they have a tendency to, kind of think about what is the most compatible alterations they can make if they need to make alterations, and how can they meet the criteria for receiving grant funding. Those are basically the benefits in terms of just the maintenance of a historic district that, has far-reaching economic benefits as well. Because, people come to Boulder City to look at the historic buildings, and they go downtown because you can't find that experience anywhere else. And, people do come from all over to go and stay in these, fairly intact motor court style motels. So I think a district would help kind of maintain that authenticity, that historic authenticity. Now, in terms of what the restrictions might be, that is a process that the city will need to work collaboratively with the owners to determine what kind of, that would be an ongoing kind of public process to determine what the design guidelines might be. So that's, once you have design guidelines, then it's very similar to the properties that are located within the Boulder City Historic District, in that, work requiring a permit might trigger HPC review.
Would I be right in saying that if the building is a part of a local historic recognition district, that if it is built as a hotel, it must remain a motel?
No, no, not at all. You can change the use. Now,
That's my
The-
concern, is that these are active businesses. People are making a living off of these, and
right.
and things need to happen in an active business to keep up with the times, and so changes are expected, and sometimes complete changes. So I was just wondering if we designate them in a historic way, we might be restricting property owners from doing things that they would need to do in order to make a profit.
Well, you also have to, there's a lot of uses that can be accommodated in the hotel form. There's been a couple of successes in Las Vegas and Palm Springs where they've adaptively reused these buildings for smaller retail stores or cafes and that kind of thing. That does require a bit of capital, but you're not altering necessarily the exterior of the motel to accommodate these new uses.
And I would assume that would be up to city code with what the restrictions would be with the local historic district, because I think the only district we have here is the national district, so I assume that would be up to Boulder City to decide what restrictions you would or wouldn't have on owners if this did become a local historic district.
But wouldn't we be following the same pattern that we've set, that the frontage, the setting, the facade of the building can't change, the windows can't change, the doors can't change, the architecture can't change, you can't build larger, you can't cover things up. There's a lot of restrictions. Some of these rooms are very, very tiny, and to expand a room or something, or it just seems like there's we're dealing with buildings from a different era that might not be usable in the modern age unless they're extensively changed, and it would result in changing actually the outside, the facade of the building.
So
Well,
just to, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say the interior changes, like removing walls to create larger spaces, is not prohibited, as long as it meets building code. Obviously, you're not taking out any load-bearing walls, and there are a number of ways that you can make alterations to buildings that are considered compatible, and that's that won't impact the overall integrity of the historic district. We've approved quite a few of those in the past few years, compatible window replacements and things like that. It's definitely possible.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mooney. Your study was fantastic. It was great reading. I've learned a whole lot about these motels that I didn't know before, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Courtney, I'll echo that. I like geeking out on history, and I was able to do that here. And and I kind of see yourself as like the Boulder City author, and we got kind of a first look of what maybe a book would look like, if we did make one. But the question I had was, I believe 2 of these hotels are already located in the National Historic District, that being the Best Western Oasis. I believe, I didn't do a ton of research, but I was just looking at the map and it looked like it overlaid. Does that have any impact, or does that mean anything to you?
No, because if it's designated on a local, the local district, it doesn't matter if it overlaps.
Okay.
When you write, well, I guess it depends on if we want you to move forward with this, writing either national or local designation nominations, do you identify, I guess, components of if it's possible for some of the hotels, if they were to modify, change, rehab their buildings, could their designation be improved, I guess, from either the local level or the national level? And I can't think of which building, which hotel, like if they changed something or removed an addition or put on a new roof or a different type of roof, more appropriate roof. Do those nominations identify something like that?
Well, yes, it's similar to the grant funding incentive with the Boulder City Historic District that allows for, it funds smaller projects that could either don't impact the existing contributing status of a building negatively, or it might help, be the thing that helps it become contributing. But of course, that it couldn't be done quickly on these buildings, but it could, and the National Register takes into account, if you're evaluating things for a National Register district, it takes into account these types of alterations that occur outside of the period of significance as well.
Okay. Another question. How does this work that you've conducted relate to the overall historic context that you're working on? Or eventually to work on?
This project probably would have come out of that citywide context because it's a cohesive architectural theme that is easy to evaluate, separately on its own merits. Since this is already completed, we would summarize our results in the citywide context.
So that's why I was wondering if we find there is the other property, there's the other hotel within the existing historic district. And if the idea is to nominate these hotels based on tourism and hotel styles, would that city context, historic context, address all of the potential hotel properties? And therefore, I guess I'm wondering, how does the existing hotel in the historic district relate to these hotels within this corridor?
So it would not be, it was built within, I think it was built earlier than the period of significance, correct? It was built, maybe it was about the exact same time. I would have to double check that, look through the report. But it's not a motor court type hotel, which is the glue that's binding this district together, is that one story, either U-shaped or L-shaped, or even just a straight building where you can, park along the side and get out and your doors are facing, the parking lot and you enter your motel. It's very different type than the Boulder Dam Motel, which is, as you said, it's located within the National Register district and is also individually listed on the National Register.
Mm-hmm. But it relates to the theme of tourism, and there's a bunch of properties that fall under that criteria or that theme. So
it does, but we specifically said that it needs to be an early to mid 20th century motor court type motel to be considered contributing.
Okay. And then this question, I don't know if it's for you, but there is a sign code for the city. Does this process conflict with anything in the sign code, or is that sign code going to be, or do we need to look at that sign code eventually, depending on what we do to move forward with this?
So the sign code applies to the entire community. So within the existing historic district, we have signs that have to adhere to the sign code regulations and also adhere to the historic district regulations. So it wouldn't be any different than the existing historic district.
Isn't there a specific separate sign code for the hotels? the motels?
There is designated different areas, and yes, one of those is for those motels. Now, what the city is going to be doing over the next year and a half is a comprehensive overhaul of Title 11. It's not going to address historic preservation chapter, but the other chapters, including the sign code.
Okay. So at this time, that code does not conflict with any movement forward on this project?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And Courtney, can you, I guess, just reiterate, how is it that this district is not being appended to the Boulder City Historic District?
This district has a different significance. So the Boulder City Historic District significance is tied into the federal intervention in Boulder City, and these are privately owned.
Great, thank you. We get that question a lot, so.
Yeah, no worries.
I had one question. Courtney, the survey boundary, is that your recommendation for a local historic district boundary as well?
No, because the survey was only for motel properties. We did not take into consideration any of those interstitial parcels. So it would be, and the code allows for kind of a non-contiguous district. So it would be only the properties that are considered eligible would create the district.
Okay, so you would exclude non-contributing hotels from the district?
Correct, and anything that's kind of in between the motel properties.
Could you include non-contributing into that?
We could, yes, we could do that. I mean, it's actually, this is kind of the fun part because it's actually up to, it's a collaborative process, So we can the city can go where they'd like to go with this, and of course with the commission's input to decide what best meets the HPC goals and the what kind of incentives are for the property owners to be included if they're non-contributing and et cetera. So that's the next discussion for this.
Fair. And I'm asked that too because I don't know if it would inspire any hotel owners to maybe to either remove something that wasn't contributing, and maybe that's what took it out of that mark. But I love the idea of inspiring those to be more appropriate to the original character of the architecture. And I don't know if that would, but so it's fair for future discussions to identify that.
Yeah.
And Courtney, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
On process of designation, if the recommendation is not originated by the property owner, a notice of the proposed recommendation and public meeting details are mailed to the owner of the property. And then there's a hearing that follows after that. The property owner, if we designate a district and let's say a property owner does not want to be part of it, if there's not enough benefit, perhaps he might say there's really no benefit to me to join that. And I'm inviting some restrictions on my property as well, and he says I don't want to be a part of it. What do we do then, or how does that work? If you explain that, being in the district but not willing to be a participant.
I would defer to Michael or Nikisha for that response.
So next steps in the process, if the commission directs staff to proceed with a local district nomination, you would define the boundary parameters, and then we would prepare a staff report that would come back to the commission. And as you noted, it does require a public hearing before the commission. We have to provide all property owners in the designated district notice of that meeting, no less than 30 days before the hearing occurs. At that hearing, you would hear from those property owners. They would provide their feedback, and then you would make a recommendation to City Council. Then there's another 30-day window where we provide notice when it would go before the city council. City council will make the final determination as to whether to approve the historic district or not. And so I guess the more properties that you include in that area, you may get more people that are opposed to the district as opposed to a smaller district. But really it's within the context of what you think is appropriate for the creation of the district.
I have one more question. I remember a number of years ago, I was really sad when over at the Boulder City Inn, the wind knocked down their great classic sign that was out front when Mr. Patel had that property. And it smashed in the parking lot, was really banged up pretty bad, and he just didn't have the money to fix it. Yesco sign, I think, wanted a couple $100,000 to fix his sign. But eventually he scrapped it, and it's gone now. But I was just wondering if there's damage to these signs, or if somebody wants to restore their sign, if it's which code are they going to follow? Are they going to modernize the sign, or are they going to restore the sign back to its original function, like with incandescent lights and the ceramic fittings and things like that? Updating the wiring, of course, but rebuilding the sign back to its original state, or would they have to update it and modernize the sign?
Typically, it's tied to the percentage of damage. If it's over 50% damage to any structure, then it has to comply with modern building codes. Obviously, there are opportunities that exist today with our RDA, and in fact, the RDA does encourage up to 50% reimbursement for either restoration or improvement of signs that follow the 1950s themes with neon.
Thank you.
I mean, and that's a good point. If it's rebuilt from scratch, it's no longer historic. But if it's renovated or restored, then it still is. And I think that is a distinction, and that's what I'm sad about. I think it's with Sands, where it was completely rebuilt, and even though it has the look, it's not historic. Yeah.
I had a question about the nomination process. Are you suggesting that do we nominate first those properties to the local register, including the Flamingo, or would you simultaneously do a national register nomination for the Flamingo as well as the local nomination for the other properties?
So
go ahead, Michael, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Any individual private property owners could pursue a national register nomination on their own, but really the opportunity here, based on Courtney's recommendations, is the creation of a historic district.
So Courtney would not, on behalf of the city, do a nomination for the Flamingo. It's up to the property owner. Right?
Correct. We did it for the hangar because that was owned by the city.
But when it comes to local register, we can ask her to do that, or do we rely on each individual property owner to do their own property district? How does that work?
National or the local register versus the historic district. If the intent is to look at preservation of the historically significant motels, the best approach would be the creation of a historic district.
Must there be a historic district in order to get RDA funds to restore properties?
No.
So if there's no district, we don't create anything at all, the property owners, these motel owners or sign owners, can still apply for help to do things to their properties that meet the standards of restoration or holding to its original design.
Correct. And probably the most recent example is the coffee cup. They received from the City Council an RDA grant to restore the neon and lighting on their sign, and I think they're currently in the process of that restoration.
And Brett Runyon put up a really awesome sign down on the main drag there.
Yeah.
It's a really beautiful sign. He did a great job there.
Any other questions or conversation?
If it was a historic district, are they entitled to other funds that are outside of RDA that they can apply for?
the historic district preservation grant would become eligible.
And would it also help them to get grants that are offered by private institutions out in state funds as well?
Courtney, I'll defer to you in terms of state grants or anything from SHPO that would be helpful with the creation of the historic district. Courtney, are you there?
I'm so sorry, I was on mute. I apologize. There are no state historic preservation grants that I'm aware of for private commercial properties. National Register listed properties can apply for tax credits through the, that's a federal program that's administered through the State Historic Preservation Office. And there are some organizations that offer historic preservation grants, but I believe they are, or you have to be listed on the National Register in order to, so that's usually the criteria.
Madam Chairman, so my biggest concern is the property owners. I know that Flamingo Inn is on board. They love this idea. I love the idea. I love all these motor courts. But I would sure like to know more about what the other property owners think, or are they aware of our proposal? I'd sure like to hear some input from other property owners to see what they think. And moving ahead without their input is kind of makes me nervous.
Is this we're moving forward not to, I mean, I guess we're asking Courtney to start the process of designating the historic district, and that's then when it kicks in where the community or the owners come into the process.
This is how we would do it, right? This is how we find out what they want.
I mean, you wouldn't, the public or the owners wouldn't put a quash on doing any of this, right?
So the next step would be if the commission wants to direct staff to prepare for the creation of the historic district, part of that process is that all the property owners would be notified of that hearing consideration. It has to be at least 30 days notice. And so at that point, the property owners could come to the meeting and provide their feedback on whether they're supportive of being a part of the historic district.
And I think in that moment, it would probably be a good idea to have the pros and cons prepared well in advance, and we can all speak to it. So if people are going to come to this audience, I think we can at least speak to the facts and maybe calm any concerns, because clearly it can be a concerning thing if additional regulations. But I think there's pros and cons to it, and I think just being open and transparent is really important.
Yep. So I guess, does somebody want to make a motion to recommend that city staff pursue designating the historic motels to the local district, the local designation, sorry.
And Chairman Davenport, just for clarification, which properties? We need to know what it is that you want to recommend for us to prepare.
7 local.
So, for example, going back to Courtney's assessment, there are 5 hotels that would be eligible within a historic district. Do you want to pursue that, or do you want to pursue a larger area that has non-contributing properties? Because as Courtney noted, it does not have to be a contiguous historic district.
But she didn't identify a boundary that would include those non-contributing, did she?
No, not a delineated boundary, but in the matrix, it does show which 5 are eligible. And so that could be the commission's recommendation to proceed.
Could I ask that of Courtney, what boundary you would recommend if we were to create just a district by boundaries and not by properties?
I hadn't really given that too much thought yet. You could create a district with all of the surveyed properties, with the exception of, I would recommend leaving the Best Western Hoover Dam Hotel out. It doesn't fit with the type. So then you would have 5 contributing properties out of 8, which is a majority. So you could theoretically include those non-contributing properties as well in there, and you would still, have a district. And the non-contributing properties could potentially request, funding, historic preservation funding, to make some compatible repairs. So there would be a benefit to them. The other option is to just nominate there's 5 hotels and there's 3 signs. 2 of the hotels have signs, on that property, and then there's the Nevada Inn sign, which is separate from the building. So that's, 8 contributing resources, but, it would be interesting to have the sign contributing and the, listed out in the district and the building not. So I think maybe for just the easiest way would be to include all of the properties, even the non-contributing ones.
I agree.
Well, I would like to make a motion that we move forward with all 8 of the properties.
To be added to a local.
Added to a local historic district in Boulder City.
But I think we need to answer the question first of whether we're going to go on individual properties or a boundary. So I think that's the question. That's the question.
That's what she.
No, you're talking about properties. We're talking about a boundary.
Well, it could still be it could still be the same, because the Best Western's at the north end, so it could be still just remove that from that whole boundary.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what she's saying is it's easiest to just go from a road to a road, not from not individual properties, but from a boundary road to a boundary road. Or what I'm suggesting is the Nevada Inn on the west, all the way to the El Rancho on the east, and make that corridor right there. One corridor rather than individual properties.
Just to be
So I just want to quickly clarify that what I'm saying is just the properties just the motel properties, excluding the Best Western. So not any of the commercial properties that are in between. So it wouldn't be like one big boundary like you see on the map. It would be a non-contiguous district.
Why would you do that?
Because we would have more non-contributing properties, because all those commercial, there's a few new ones and we didn't evaluate those, and so because we were only asked to evaluate the motels, and they wouldn't, meet the significance, so it would be,
Okay,
I'm
gotcha.
thinking of
probably not be eligible.
If it was bounded by road, it would include something like the old abandoned 7-Eleven that just sits there.
Right.
It would be in there, but it just sits there. It doesn't do anything. It's not a contributing property. But the 1932 motel, I forgot the name of it, is what is it?
The Nevada Inn.
The Nevada Inn. So the Nevada Inn is right there, is nearby. But if it was a corridor, if it set outside a corridor, there's a car wash in there, there's the 7-Eleven, there's a mortuary, things like that obviously are not part of what we're talking about. But it would just include, one big net would include the whole area, but it would be the properties that we're looking at, the 8 properties that we're looking at. That's what I'm saying.
I think because similar to the Boulder City Historic District, at that point, those properties would have to comply with whatever design guidelines are created, unless there is a way to weed those out, if they're in a big boundary like that.
But they're not motels.
Correct, but with the Boulder City Historic District, there's a lot of, newer buildings and things that we still have design guidelines for those new buildings that weren't built, by the federal government, but they're within the district, and the district overlay, has design guidelines. So again, this is something that we may want to work out some of these details as we move forward to try to figure out the best way to do this to meet, HBC goals and property owner concerns.
Well, I kind of feel like from an experience standpoint, if you're in a vehicle, or if you're walking on the road, you're entering the district, which there's no boundary line in real life. But I think in an aerial view like this, it can be this kind of sporadic thing. But I think as far as an experience, somebody may not know that. And when I think that benefits kind of what we're trying to accomplish here too, is you're entering the district, this is the hotel district, or whatever we decide that to be, as long as all this moves forward, right? But there's a lot of hypotheticals, but I think from a visual piece like this, I think it, to Courtney's point, it probably would have to be just to exclude so we can get above the 50%.
I mean, there's a lot of ways to promote the motel district that benefits all of the buildings, and without having regulatory, constraints on buildings that aren't part of the, that aren't motels. So you could easily say, here you are entering the motel district, and all of this makes sense because you would have retail that would pop up between these buildings to serve, tourists, and that all makes sense, right? So you could easily package that without having, a layer of restrictions on these smaller commercial businesses.
We're trying to figure out what a motion would sound like in order to communicate what we need to move forward.
Yeah, the motion would be to direct staff to proceed with the creation of a local historic district, and you would identify which properties would be included in that proposed district. That's what we need clarity on.
So my saying, I would like to make a motion for you guys to move forward on the 8 properties that Courtney has suggested. That's not good. Is that good enough?
No, that is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
yeah,
specific enough, yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to make that motion.
Okay. So the 8 properties, which excludes the Best Western Hoover Dam Hotel, correct?
Yes.
Correct, okay. Do I have a second?
I second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Courtney.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
We're going to have Courtney for the next one, too.
Can't get rid of me.
All right. All right, next agenda item 4, for possible action, matters pertaining to the historic property designation of the World War II Monument and Memorial Flagpole in Robert Broadbent Memorial Park at 1305 5th Street.
So goal 3 of the Boulder City Historic Preservation Plan states that the city will identify and promote historic resources. So following that goal, the commission had asked staff back in June of '25 to look at the World War II Monument and Memorial Flagpole at Broadbent Memorial Park, located at 1305 5th Street, for local designation. The commission directed staff and Courtney Mooney to conduct an additional research on state eligibility and structural integrity of this structure. The State Historic Preservation Office, SHPO, recommended a local designation, not a state designation. And so Ms. Mooney has put together that material And so what staff is looking for, and let me step back. In our code, it talks about an individual historic property may be designated if it's at least 50 years old and substantially complies with 2 of 6 criteria. And in the staff report, the 3 that staff and Ms. Mooney believe it complies with is associated with events that have made a significant contribution to the broad patterns of local, regional, state, or national history, is associated with persons or events that have made a significant impact on our past, and represents an established and familiar visual feature in the city. So it meets the eligibility requirements, and so what staff is looking for is if the commission wants to recommend to the city council nomination of the World War II monument and memorial flagpole for local designation under our local code. And Ms. Mooney can answer any additional questions.
The only question I have, I don't think is for Courtney, but how will the new swimming pool and the demolition of that affect that site or the flagpole, if at all?
Since the flagpole is near the intersection of, it'd be, let's see, it's near the northwest intersection of the property. It won't have any conflict with the pool construction.
Thank you.
I didn't get a chance to go over there and look at this. It looks like it's in need of some repair.
Yes, we've made Public Works aware of that, and they will evaluate what they can do to help address that.
Any other comments or questions?
Is there, since I wasn't a part of the commission at the time, I think that when this was brought up, was there an origination of seeking this? I know it was mentioned as a part of Goal 3, which is to identify all the historic resources, but I only say that because I struggle, this is another one, I struggled last month with one thing, I struggle a little bit with this, is as I interpret the ruling of this, is something is deemed historic when it's associated specifically with an event, not when it memorializes an event, and that's specifically what I'm struggling with, and again, I don't want to deviate the commission into a different direction, but when I look at concrete, for example, maintenance of concrete tends to get demolished and repoured, which would then deem this to not be historic any longer. So, and I don't work for Public Works. I don't manage Public Works, and who knows what the solution will be. But the maintenance of concrete that is deteriorated typically tends to be demolition and repouring it, because that's the most cost-effective. And so, if we did deem this historic, would that be something that continues to become an eyesore? But I don't know. So, and again, I mentioned a lot of things in that. So there's, I kind of vomited all the things in my mind. But those were the things that kind of gave me heartaches with this. Is I think they're great things to have in Boulder City, and I think we all identify them as important things that should be preserved and maintained. I just don't know if marking it as a historic feature is needed to do that. I don't know.
It was me that nominated it. And the impetus really was twofold. One was we're a World War II heritage community along with Henderson. And so it was just jumping on that bandwagon to identify World War II era resources, historic resources. It's a great question about the flagpole it's multiple components. It's not just the concrete, but it's the flagpole as well as a plaque. Gotcha. So if you were to, I guess this is up for debate, and Courtney can, chime in, but if you had to replace the concrete, but you still had the flagpole and, 2 of 3 historic features, does it still maintain its historic original integrity?
Yep.
Great question.
Yep.
But, that's the impetus behind that.
Thank you.
But it is a tiny little historic piece of property, and it's just kind of continuing that momentum to add things to, our list of local
Yep,
designations.
they're all little jewels, exactly. Yep.
Mhm.
If we relocated it, where would it be?
I don't think we talked about relocating it.
And if we relocated it, would it still be historic?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd say no, but
Ms. Mooney, can you please answer some of these questions?
So I first want to address the comment about the memorial being associated with the event that makes it significant. That is a National Register, that's part of the National Register criteria. There's nothing in, and I think that that's one of the reasons why initially Broadbent recommended that it would not meet the National Register criteria. And so we thought maybe we would try for state listing, and I believe that they rejected it based on the same logic. So there is nothing in the city code for historic preservation that provides, that level of explanation or criteria for, a memorial being associated with the event, how directly it would be associated with the event. So that's why we recommended it on the local register, because it seemed to meet the criteria. Regarding replacing the concrete base, as Chair Davenport mentioned, you have to weigh all of the integrity of setting, location, materials, workmanship, etc. And repouring a base in exactly the same way that's compatible is only one aspect of that, and that would be materials and not necessarily even design. And so if you replaced one component of the flagpole and the base, it would not necessarily mean that it doesn't meet the criteria anymore.
thank you. Any other questions? Comments? Right.
And Chairman Davenport, this does require a public hearing.
Tonight. Okay. So I will open up public comment for this agenda item. Each person has up to 3 minutes to speak on this agenda item. The public may call 702-589-9629 to provide comment. And this is for agenda item number 4. Is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak? Anybody on the phone or any written comments? All right. Seeing as there's no comments, we will close this comment period. Do I have a motion for this action? Is there a motion to either move to recommend to the City Council approval of the nomination or recommend denial? And it's on page 172 as far as what that is.
I make that motion that we recommend.
So you have to
Read that whole thing.
read that whole thing.
I move to recommend to the City Council approval of the nomination of the World War II Monument and Memorial Flagpole for local designation as an individually eligible property for listing on the Boulder City Historic Property Register based on conformance with Title 11, Chapter 27 of the City Code.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion approved. Motion moves forward. Thank you. Great questions, everyone. Thanks again, Courtney.
You're welcome.
All right. Agenda item number 5 for possible action, matters pertaining to the 2026 Historic Preservation Day activities and award.
All right, May will be here before we know it. And so we have 2 matters related to this agenda item for discussion and action. The first is to review the submissions for the Historic Preservation Award. And before I go through them, in summary, I do want to kind of highlight the established criteria that was created by the commission back in 2022. That criteria says, is the nomination application 100% complete? Is the building or property historically significant? Has the property been preserved, rehabilitated, and/or restored following the Secretary of Interior's guidelines and standards? Does the project promote the long-term preservation of the building or property? Does the project promote the long-term preservation of a historic neighborhood or business district? And does it meet the city's goals for historic preservation? So we have 7 nominations that have been received. I'm going to go through those. The first is 1305 Arizona Street. This is the Boulder Dam Hotel, built in 1934. Only recorded example of colonial revival style in the district. It is individually listed on the National Register of Historic Places, and it is a contributing property to the historic district. 525 Avenue B. This is the Boulder City Company store, formerly the men's store, built in 1931. It is of mission style and is also contributing to the district. 315 Utah Street, a single-family dwelling built in 1932. It is of the Spanish ranch style and is also contributing to the historic district. 600 Avenue C. This is a single-family dwelling built in 1940, craftsman style, also contributing to the historic district. 648 Avenue F, another single-family home that was built in 1931, again craftsman style, and also contributes to the historic district. 504 California Avenue. This is Boulder Bowl. Built in 1947, it is the international style. It was a prior award winner in 2012, but it does not contribute to the historic district. 726 Park Street. This is a single-family dwelling built in 1931, Spanish ranch style, and also contributes to the historic district. So this is the opportunity for the commission to deliberate and to nominate a recommendation for this year's Historic Preservation Award.
Does anybody want to start?
My initial first thought was if you've received an award in the past, maybe we shouldn't do it again until others, give other people a chance, like the Boulder Bowl. Love the place, it's beautiful. But if they've received an award in the past, maybe we should choose somebody else.
I agree.
That one's my favorite.
I second that. I think it's a very unique property in Boulder City. I love driving by it all the time, and yeah.
Sorry, what are we referring to?
Where
I can
were
put
you-
on the screen.
Fair.
I know. I'm trying to look
The
at
Sandstone
the
House.
The 600 Avenue C.
Yeah.
600 Avenue C.
Yes.
Holly, if you could put that up. Oh, there we go.
I think that it's almost pristine in its preservation. I put it through AI, and AI said almost everything about this building is accurate to the time that it was built.
Which
But then
AI did you use?
Gemini.
Okay.
But the thing that's really unique about it is that if you look at it, how could it not be? I mean, this thing is built like a fortress. And then my other favorite is the hotel, but the hotel has the national registry, but it doesn't have a local one.
two like that building, but I was looking at, there's only 2 of these 6 properties, excluding Boulder Bowl, that have, that are eligible for being individually eligible, which is the hotel and 726 Park Street. Given that, though, I guess it's just the basement windows that were modified that maybe took it out of that property being individually eligible for listing.
You know,
If that's the case, that's,
I looked at that one on AI too as well, and the only thing that is non-contributing, or should I say not accurate, is the blue.
that's just paint.
Right, but that's what it said.
Oh, well.
It said the blue. So that's just paint. Everything else is
But what
pretty
I'm saying is
accurate.
the other, the sandstone
Yeah.
building is not individually eligible because of the windows, the basement windows. And I'm not clear, like, what exactly the problem is with the windows, the basement windows. To me, they look original. Maybe there's a few that aren't.
Maybe that one right there.
Yeah. So it's like non.
Because that one looks original.
Yeah. So I'm questioning the
Yeah,
not
why
the
is that-
nomination, but the architectural assessment. Like, I don't know if that would
Oh, here you
qualify
go.
it from.
No, but those look like wood windows, wood framed
Anyway.
windows.
David, what do you think?
I've deliberately not picked a property yet because I wanted to hear what you guys think. I want to hear all your input, but I also want to point out that we're trying to promote promote the idea to people that if you have a historic property, take care of it. Do some good things to it. It's gonna require you to spend some money, some time, some sweat, and such efforts like that, I think, could be rewarded or ought to be rewarded with some recognition. And the Boulder Company store, watching them go through all that they went through, the full gut, all the way back to the walls, they had to solve a lot of problems with that building, putting it together and then turning it into actually a community cultural center. Everybody goes to for coffee over at the company store. They put a lot of work into that. It's beautiful. They did a great job. It's a contributing property, and recognition of that hard work is a good thing.
And of these properties, that's the only one that at least I'm aware of that you can see that somebody has put in effort to improve upon it. The other ones, those properties are very well maintained, but I don't know of any historic preservation, rehabilitation projects that went into them. So that's kind of one of the two things that I look at a property, like what did somebody do most recently in preserving a building, and then there's the other properties that are just really well maintained and taken care of. So I don't know. I go back and forth.
The only issue that I had with the store is, and maybe I'm old school in the sense of, I've always looked at historic preservation. The most important thing is keeping the facade original. You can do anything you want to the inside, and anything's relative. And I think you're looking at the substance of it. I think on the inside, it's pristine, and they've done such a good job. Where I'm looking at it at the facade level, we're adding the cover and the columns to hold up the cover are not part of the original structure, and to me take away from the look of the original building. And it wasn't a beautiful building to begin with, so, and I think it looks very nice now, and that's where I kind of wrangled with that. But
I'm going to kind of agree with him on that one. It doesn't look original anymore. It's beautiful. It's a gorgeous building, and I love the inside, and I think that she's done an amazing job with it, but it doesn't look historic anymore.
But I also like 726 Park Street. It is also a very unique building that I always assumed that it was brick and it was stuccoed over, and come to find out that that wasn't the case. And so I learned something with that too.
Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. On the Boulder City Company store, you have this old picture there, the Boulder City Company stores. That doesn't look like the same building.
It's not.
It's not.
It's not. It was
She
across the street.
replicated.
They
the-
tore down the original building.
Yeah, this was a men's store.
That was a men's
right?
store.
Replicated the
So
sign.
she took the sign, but this is a men's store.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you look at the men's store, historical men's store, she kept all of the glass in the front, all of the display glass where you would display men's suits or hats or whatever. All that's intact. The second opening into the register area where you get your coffee, that's all intact. She actually did. I'm just pointing those things out, that she kept those things intact.
But it is obscured by the addition of the,
Yeah. And that falls into that heading that I was talking about earlier, that these are active businesses. These are places that employ people. People put their heart and soul into this, and they got to make money to stay in business. And she needed an awning out there. She needed something that was safe and suitable for people to sit outside under. I can see why she did that.
Well, and in a prior, meeting, there was talk about adaptive reuse, and I would agree with it. I think adaptive reuse needs to happen in historic buildings. I'm not a pure historic preservationist that I want to keep everything a museum. Buildings need to live, and I would agree with you. I think they did a great job allowing that building to live. I don't know if I would just give it a historic preservation award, but that's just me. But I agree with you. I think I love what they've done to it.
so.
How are we going to decide?
Yeah, how do we,
What's
does somebody
the
want to, I guess,
We can do a process of elimination.
that's true too.
So Boulder Bowl is out.
Right.
Yeah, Boulder Bowl is out. What about the Boulder Dam Hotel?
They're already at the top of recognition, I think, being a historic
Okay.
property. I think they've reached the pinnacle.
Okay, so we'll take them out.
I guess the other two we haven't talked about is 315 Utah and 648 Avenue F.
I would take out 315 Utah because the addition of the walls, the landscaping,
It doesn't look historic.
it diminishes what it originally looked like. It's beautiful, gorgeous.
And I think there's even a few people, other people have tried to put up walls, and we've told them that they couldn't.
Or we've asked them not to, but.
And in 648 Avenue F, the only thing I didn't like about that was the siding. The siding's not original.
And I would add about the Dingbat home. The Dingbat home, I love the Dingbat home. It's really, really cool, beautiful place. But I was, if I read this correctly, the owner doesn't live here. It's rented out, or it's not the owner's not in the house, right? I wish the owner was living there. I would be more inclined to vote for that house. The owner himself would receive the award. But beautiful home. I love it. I don't know.
Is everybody okay with taking that off, or?
Dingbat home.
Kind of a fan of those homes, but that's just a personal preference. And for me, 626 Park Street is gorgeous.
Park Street. Yeah, that's a pretty home.
But it reminds me of the home that won an award that's pretty similar back in 2020. Was it on the same street? The Brimmel House on Denver, 1342 Denver, so no, different.
It sounds like you're talking yourself into 600 Avenue C, the stone building.
It sounds like it.
But I also want to say, what are we as a commission trying to communicate to the community about historic preservation? This is Historic Preservation Day. We're trying to set an example and promote something that people can take away.
We're trying to promote, at least in that building, that it's been minimally modified, changed, it's been well preserved.
It's beautiful. Still, because of it's the way that they preserved it.
Oh, are you talking about 720? Yeah, both 726 and
600
600
Avenue
Avenue C.
Yeah.
I think I took a similar avenue of looking at what was previously awarded and wanted to add some level of diversity into it. And when the Stonehouse popped, I'm just going to call it Stonehouse, but 600 Avenue C popped up. I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. That's that building I see all the time that I don't think a whole lot about, other than it's the unique
It's
stone
very
building I
unique.
see.
It's very unique.
I think it's gorgeous. I think that's my favorite. So I'm going to vote on that one.
But we did give an award to 433 Birch Street in 2014, and that was that's a complete new construction.
It was
That
just
had-
the accessory building.
Yeah, but that's,
We can just say we weren't on the commission then, so
There you
yeah.
Yeah, we weren't on the commission back then.
but,
In fact, I know the owners of that, and they wish that they would have gotten for the house and not the back.
and we did award a sidewalk at one point.
It's a cool sidewalk.
It is very cool. Looks like my patio.
Yeah, maybe we can nominate that next time.
All right, so it looks like we've got, what, 3 or 4 properties? 726 Park, 648 Avenue F, or is that like at the end, I think, maybe not.
I'm suggesting to remove that, but that's me. 648 Avenue F. Only off the premise that it has asbestos siding, which is not original.
And the door is in the wrong location, I think.
And I get a sense that Boulder Company store is not favored. Is that, what do you think?
I get that feeling too, even though 3 people nominated it. Or it received 3 nominations, I should say. So.
It's just too bad we can only pick one. I wish we had a gold, silver, and bronze medal.
We
You know,
can,
could pick
we
3.
can redo the nominations
Next year.
next
year.
year, for next year.
But if you only pick one, though, of
But
course,
this year.
that's too bad.
Okay.
So we got to pick one.
Okay, well, I'm going to pick 600 Avenue C.
Do I have anybody else who wants to?
I also would nominate that one, 600 Avenue C.
All right, that's 2. I would go for that as well. It's one of my favorites. And they've done a great job of preserving it.
Let's make it 4. Unanimous.
All right. Unless.
Oh, we got somebody online.
Oh, no, he's not voting, so that's it, right?
Let's do it.
All right.
So we'd be looking for a motion and a second nominating 600 Avenue C for this year's award.
I would like to make a motion that 600 Avenue C receive this year's award for the National Preservation.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So then, do you have to see if the property owner accepts or was willing to? And if they don't, then what?
Well, we will certainly contact the property owner, and hopefully they can attend Historic Preservation Day to receive the award. If we hear back that they aren't interested, we'll certainly let you know.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Has that ever happened?
Not that I recall.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everyone. That was really tough. There's great.
We got a great town. A beautiful town.
They're all deserving, really.
Sure are.
So, the second aspect of this agenda item is continuing to work on Historic Preservation Day. Commission has made great progress. Nikisha has provided in detail a summary of all the discussion items in the staff report. The one thing we wanted to bring to your attention is the proposed flyer for Historic Preservation Day. It summarizes the 3 activities for Saturday, May 9th. It would kick off at 9 a.m. at Parizzo Financial, where we would do the presentation of the Historic Preservation Award, presentation of the second annual Legacy Banner winners from Martha P. King Elementary, and it would be an opportunity to tour the building. Then at 10 a.m., we would go to the historic water filtration plant, be able to have the plant open for view. There would also be a dedication ceremony to honor the late Alan Stromberg in the Teddy Fenton Memorial Park Reflection Center. And that would go from 10 to 11. And then we would head over to Bullock Field between 11:30 and 1. There'd be a presentation in view of the historic Bullock Field Airport hangar, and just to remind the commission, we'll be limited in what we can see because most of the building is occupied by equipment, and it's not safe to allow people to go through there. We'll have a presentation by Commissioner Baker, and you were discussing airplane-themed children's activities.
I brought some samples of some airplanes. Can I? We got this one here. And you have a little rubber band on it. Can I?
Well built. Yeah, I love
And then
it.
you've got a launch, another type of launch that they can do. I think these are fun. And this goes back like that. And you put this one in here like this, push it back, and all the kids have to do is,
Oh, nice.
right? Pretty simple. And then there's, and then for the little kids, I kind of thought, I found this on Oriental Trading, where you can get the paper already decorated, and they have 3 different kinds, and it already has the lines for them, so we could use them for the little kids. So that's my ideas.
And so then you like have a race or a
Yeah, they can,
competition?
yeah, they can decide on which one they want to make, and then they can even, they don't have to use our designs, but I do have a couple volunteers that are in the audience that offered to help the kids make these airplanes, and then they can have a competition, and we can let them see who can get theirs to fly the farthest. And plus, we can just teach them some of the old school toys that we used to play with paper. That's my idea.
And adults play too.
Absolutely. Adults can play too.
So in your notes, you mentioned that this save the date was on the city's website. I couldn't find it. Or maybe you meant to say it will be?
No, so that the save the date was for the utility mailer, since we hadn't finalized things. So if you flip on the back, there's a smaller version of what we had discussed at the last meeting, and then the other flyer will be what I put on the city's website.
I didn't see anything on Historic Preservation Day on the city's website. Like,
So the save the date was for the utility mailer, so it went out in the mail. And then this draft flyer, I haven't put anything out yet until I make sure you guys are okay with the design. And after this meeting, I'll put it on the website. But I want to make sure that you guys are okay and we don't have any changes in time and activities and things of that nature.
Can I make a recommendation as far as advertisement goes? When the police department does their family night, they do a big banner right there in the middle of town that everybody sees. Can we do a big banner?
We have approximately $300 budgeted for Historic Preservation Day activities. So certainly we can use that for any refreshments at the kickoff meeting at 9 a.m., for the cost for the airplane and those associated items. We are going to have it displayed on the electronic message board that's at Buchanan and Nevada Way, and so that's a prominent location that will highlight Historic Preservation Day activities.
What if we could get it donated?
If you can get it donated, where would you want the banner placed?
What's the name of that building? where they-
LADWP?
Yeah, that's where they put it. They usually put it right there, and everybody sees it. And it's right there in the historic district, so people who are in the historic district going around and stuff, they'll see that we're going to have this historic district or historic preservation day. And if we can, we just want more people, right? To be excited about it.
Yeah, if you could
I
certainly get
will
it donated.
see if I can try and get it donated. I will do my best.
So does the timeline schedule look okay with folks? Which is on page 281. And I guess we're all set. So you're the contact for the Patrizio Financial? No.
No, I'm not.
Oh, who is?
This is my
Right.
Member Weingart is, but I can report out if needed if you need more information.
I guess, is she still on track to?
Yeah, so I met with one of the representatives with Patrizio Financial. So we talked about the setup. They're gonna make a blow up of like the Sears catalog because you could pick out of there for what the house was. So they're gonna have that. They'll have a little presentation after we do the presentation of the award, the HP award, and the award for the Arts Flag project. And then I'm gonna help them make a poster as well, just for like the historic information about the building that we have. So yeah, we're moving forward with that. Yeah.
So I'm still working on the Alan Stromberg dedication, trying to reach out to folks to attend or speak, and as well as working on the rehab of his statue there. So that's moving forward. And as the water filtration plant looks like it's going to be open, you've got staff to manage that process.
That'll be me.
Okay. All right. And then the airport hangar too, that's you too, Michael? You've got that covered, it sounds like, and that time works?
We've got it available between Nikisha and I. We will have somebody there. Nikisha's already coordinated on having tables and chairs so that people can sit for the presentation, and we'll have tables for the children's activities.
Great. Thank you, Nikisha, also for providing more Alan Stromberg information. The guy did so much here in Boulder City. It's incredible. So we'll address that at his rededication. So, anybody else?
A couple of questions. Michael, my presentation at the field, or actually anybody here, any suggestions how long that should be?
I think when we had a presentation a couple of years ago during Historic Preservation Day, it was like 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay, is that okay with everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, and also these all of these events, obviously, they've got the street addresses, but you think we could maybe have a little map as to where these areas are when if we have tourists or people coming into town from Las Vegas or wherever, and they're not going to know where these streets are. Maybe we could have a little line map or something?
Yeah, we could put together a map that we could hand out as a kickoff. Everybody would start off at Patrizio. Thank you. And then we could hand that out so folks would know where to go for the next stops.
Okay. We need a motion for that, or we're just going to do it? No? Okay. And then do we need a motion for the banner?
No, because that's something that
We're gonna
somebody's
try
going
to
to
get
volunteer
donated.
to get
Your
the
banner that you want?
I do have a suggestion about this flyer. I kind of think that the top part is getting lost because of the schedule of events, and that's what's telling everybody what's going on. And so I kind of think that needs to be a little bit more highlighted, and the schedule of events maybe needs to shrink a little bit.
Which part needs to be shrunk?
The
brown
schedule of
part?
events,
Okay.
yes, because all you see when you look at that flyer is schedule of events in the brown, all that brown. You don't see the top part, which is the most important part. It gets lost.
Yeah, I can look at shrinking it or maybe changing the colors to provide a different contrast to where your eyes.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, I'll do that, and then I can send it out to the members of the commission if you have any other suggestions or edits.
The only question I have is Reflection Center. I don't think it's called Reflection Center.
That's the name on the city's website. So it's like a complete name with the Teddy Fenton Memorial Park and the Reflection Center.
I will send you
send me what you have.
A proclamation that
Okay.
switched it from Reflection Center to the Teddy Fenton Memorial Park.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
I can change that.
Or you can say AKA Reflection Park. I don't
Sure.
know, because whatever.
Yes.
And that's all. So this, other than the comments we had, this looks good to me, as well as the save the date. Although having the trash on the top, it'd be nice if this was on top, but okay.
Well, that's already gone out.
It's already gone out?
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind.
Did it start back or no?
Sorry. All right. Anybody else have any questions or additions to the agenda or schedule?
Vice Chairman Rigo Fasto, if you could provide me the information in regards to the paper airplanes that you want to order. That way I can look into the cost and get that covered. For
That's
the events.
okay. I can donate that. It was not a big deal.
Okay. We also have some existing supplies as well in paper, so if we can talk offline about that and what you want to do.
Okay.
All right. Is that it? And anything else you need from us?
No?
Yep. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 6 for possible action, commission discussion regarding the historic water filtration plant.
So the commission had requested to be able to review the final report that's being submitted to the State Historic Preservation Office as it relates to that restoration project of the historic water filtration plant. Just to remind the commission, this is something we've been working on for several years, and the city received a $200,000 grant from the Cultural Centers and Historic Preservation that's provided by SHPO, and we're required to submit this report to complete the project and to receive reimbursement. In addition to that, Commissioner Hancock had provided some recommendations on lighting for the property and the building, and that's been shared with our Public Works Department. So we can answer any questions you might have.
The only question I had was on the brick repointing, and I don't remember the exact dollar number, but I know it was really expensive, and I think that might have been on last month's materials, and it seems like there was an issue with SHPO, and they didn't approve of the method, so it was removed from the process. The only thing I want to mention, I found that concerning just because now SHPO is being a detriment to the restoration and the preservation of that building. Because it wasn't repointed, which now there could, and it doesn't rain here a lot, so I think we're in a better situation than maybe like Seattle is, but being from, the exterior envelope of a building is the most important thing to see that it still stands there, and so I don't think it's a huge deal, but that was, And everything else is topical, or most everything else was topical, but that was actually for the preservation of the building. But I know there was an issue with the lime and, yada, yada. But I don't know if there was any future action items to help remedy that, to actually get that done at some point in the future. But
So it was removed from the reimbursement, the grant reimbursement, because of that approach, but we're still consulting with SHPO regarding that.
So the repointing was not done?
It was done, but not to SHPO's standards because of the material used.
oh, okay.
So does it have to be redone?
Yes. I'm sorry,
It
what?
has to be redone?
Has to be monitored. And so SHPO and the Public Works Department will be communicating regarding that.
So this final report has not yet been submitted to the SHPO?
I don't believe so, but
Because we're still waiting for some comments from the SHPO regarding past work, right?
no, everything has been completed according to SHPO's guidelines and
Okay.
direction. Yeah.
So this will then be submitted to the SHPO in order to then release the funds?
Correct.
Okay.
I see that there was $90,000 that was not spent of the $500,000. What happens to that?
So it's proportional in terms of the contribution by the city and the contribution by the grant. So it then reduces some of the grant amount. But we commend the Public Works Department in what they were able to do with the work involved with the money that was provided. And so the $300,000 that came from the city, that came from the RDA funding that was approved by the City Council several years ago.
So the 90,000 that remains, does that go back to the city budget? Does it stay? Is it usable for more work on the filtration building?
So we have fully completed the scope of the project submitted to SHPO. So there's nothing more that we can do with that project. It would go back to the RDA fund if it's not utilized.
So it goes back to the RDA fund?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
We can't use that money to, cover up the, plexiglass flooring so that people can look down into the water chambers without falling in, and yet allow it to be safer?
Everything that we propose for improvements had to be approved by SHPO.
Okay.
And so I'd have to circle back with the Public Works Director regarding the ability to do that. I think there were some concerns that by putting that plexiglass in place, it would then encourage people to walk on it, and I think that was a safety concern.
What if it was on the top of the railings?
Yeah, and I don't know if they had conversations with SHPO regarding that and what their response to that was.
Oh, okay.
I know for Historic Preservation Day, there'll be a tour of the water plant. Will this be on display in some sense of showing kind of the before and I mean, they know the after, but kind of showing off the work that was done. From the photos that I saw in the before and after, it was a nice change to see. And if the public's going to view that building, are they going to be aware of that, or there'll be an opportunity for them to be aware of the changes that took place?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I can certainly include some before pictures and can summarize for folks, what improvements were made.
So I call it a wayside, but this historic panel, is that intended eventually to go on the outside of the building, or do we need to discuss, or it's just to stay inside for now and will be visible through the window, or?
Yeah, it's to stay inside. We used to have a similar panel on the outside, and the sun destroyed it.
Mhm.
So we are looking at other ways to highlight the building for folks that don't have the opportunity to go inside, but then to know the history of the building.
And sorry, this is probably from the last agenda item, but are you, during Historic Preservation Day, are you going to have, you will have something in place for people to offer ideas on how to use the building?
Correct.
Okay. The lighting proposal was great, by the way.
I like that too.
Thank you. That was beautiful. The only thing I would say is the uplighting, because we're considered a dark sky town, supposedly. Just have to be careful on uplighting so it's not polluting the night sky. But there's some really cool, I love the illumination on the inside of the building. It just glows. It's so cool. I would love to see something like that.
You could do that with LED.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty enough power in a very small LED to light that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really
Well,
gorgeous.
it looks so nice that if it doesn't look that nice in person, I'm going to be disappointed.
Well, I encourage you guys to drive by at night, in the middle of the night, and take a look at what it looks like now. The whole property and the building itself is pretty much a dark space.
Yeah.
And bringing light to the buildings and the property. I've talked to some residents in the area, and they really like the idea.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But as for shining up in the air, it would be light spilled on the walls.
Yeah.
It wouldn't really be affecting the sky as much.
Mm-hmm.
Another example to take a look at is the what was that? The Date Street complex.
Oh, uh-huh.
They rebuilt the whole Date Street complex, and they have really nice lighting outside, in which they've done that really tastefully and very professionally.
Mm-hmm.
They use some really high quality lights that are, yeah, this isn't Lowe's or Home Depot lighting. This is high quality things that are put in professionally and permanently.
Mm-hmm. And it really does add to the safety of the building.
I think it would draw people from the neighborhood there to use it in the evenings, walk their dogs there, take a stroll around, especially just to highlight the building itself. It's so sculptural.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful piece of sculpture in the middle of that property. And lighting the trees as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. Do you need anything from us?
Nope.
Okay,
This is just a report out.
thank you. Item number 7, for possible action, commission discussion regarding a quarterly publication or magazine focused on historic preservation activities.
The commission last month asked to have this on the agenda to discuss, and Commissioner Baker.
Yes, the proposal, as it states, potential quarterly publication, I would be looking at a magazine-type publication. It would have articles on the various activities that we're going to do and that we have done. For example, the recent real estate presentation several months ago. We would have photos of the event, photos of some of the participants, maybe some interviews with some of the real estate people that may have shown up. The same thing, another area of use in the magazine. I'd like to see some interviews, exclusive interviews with some of the homeowners in the historic district, talking about their homes and why they bought it and why they live in it and why they love it, etc. We'd also have interviews with certain individuals from the commission here. In fact, I would invite, if we were to do this, I'd invite the various members of the commission to contribute articles and photos along the lines of what I'm talking about. Newsworthy type things that don't necessarily appear on the website or anywhere else where the public can see it. And even if it does, this would be a magazine that would be distributed at various retail locations around the city, something that tourists could pick up, or visitors from Las Vegas or wherever, who wouldn't necessarily look at our website or look at any of the other things, and they could take that with them, and it's all right there in color and black and white. And I think it would be a great addition to the preservation activities that we do. Obviously, we would have many stories that we would have at the on May 9, photos of the different events, photos of the activities, and things of that nature. A news type magazine, news and features, including photographs. I'd be glad to edit that, put it all together, and then I'm not sure how we might go about getting it printed and getting the expense of it, but that's my proposal, and I don't know. We obviously would love to hear from any commissioners or any people out there who have comments.
Since we already have a magazine that everybody knows about and is pretty popular in town, couldn't we just get a page or two in that magazine that's continually talking about historic preservation and doing these articles and all that? But that magazine's pretty popular already. So that's my suggestion.
I had a similar thought of there's existing sources out there today that are already viewed instead of trying to capture a new audience with a new thing. And I only wanted to offer that as maybe that's an easier suggestion, or maybe that's a step one. Let's just say that is popular, and maybe a step 2 or step 3 would be its own publication, but maybe baby steps to have a section or a page. And I don't know the cost implication of that either, but
I think that's something we'd have to look into, because I heard that the magazine was bought by somebody else now. But it's definitely something that we should look into, because they might even do it because it's Boulder City and this is the historic district, so they might even give us a discount or even allow us to have a page.
Yeah, they may be very well interested in providing an opportunity for somebody to write an article monthly to talk about the history of Boulder City.
Yeah, they're always looking for people to do articles. So I think it's something we should look into.
And I'm sorry, and where would that appear then? I'm sorry. I
It's
missed
a
that.
Boulder City magazine.
Okay. So we'd have to get a hold of that editor and see if he'd allow us the space to do that.
I think that would be you.
That would be you.
Yeah.
And I mean, it really does take somebody to take the lead on something like that, and I'm happy to contribute, but not take the lead. Wouldn't know the first thing how to do that.
So would it be okay with everyone and if I approached that magazine and spoke with the editor about it?
Absolutely. I'm good with that.
So what I'd like in this instance, so whenever you have an individual, certainly Commissioner Baker, on your own, you can do this without any action by this commission. But if you want to represent the commission with your articles, then what I would like is an action by the commission directing him to contact the magazine to do the monthly articles.
So that it would be through a motion, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, so
Can I ask a question, though? Doesn't city staff sometimes contribute to that magazine? There's like the I don't know, Parks and Rec Corner or whatever.
Yes.
And so how does that work with the city? Do they pay them for that?
No,
Or
they look for content, and the city provides content on what's going on in the community. So I think they might be receptive to an article that's highlighting the history of the community.
Is it just the history of the community, or is it about historic preservation more specifically? Because there's a lot of, like, in the past, the history of whatever. I mean, that's, I guess, something to talk about. What's
Well,
the theme of the article, or
yeah,
the
I
quarter,
think because of the fact that I don't think he would give us more than a page as far as space. I think it would be more of the history rather than current events that we do, like I mentioned. But I can see some of the content that it would be, as I mentioned, interviewing homeowners in the preservation district and then getting their viewpoint on their particular properties. That would be, a lot of that would be past history, why they bought that home, when that home was built and whatnot. It would be more history as opposed to taking pictures and doing stories of the events that we've been doing. I might do some of that. Some of that might fit, but I think it would be more of a history type article than anything else, if everyone agrees with that.
Well, and my opinion was, I think we can discuss maybe the details of that, but I think a good first step is to see what the options are, what the costs are, and come back to the commission with those details, and we can see what next steps are and what the content is if it does move forward.
So you're looking for a more formal proposal as to what the content would be?
Not at this point. At this point, it would just be, is there an option for us to have a space? And if so, how large, how small, what are the costs? Yeah. Just any details that would allow us to make a decision, enough information to make a decision that this makes sense to do it.
Can we continue this on for the agenda for next time so that he can gather more information before making a motion?
Yes.
So I'll make a motion for Chuck to move forward with contacting the Boulder City Magazine and getting some background on what's available, how much space, and then to come back the next meeting to discuss content and
Actually, Chairman Davenport, we wouldn't need a motion for that. Okay. Only it's clear that the commission is wanting him to explore this, but then after he has the details, then we'd be looking for a motion of how he would proceed representing the commission.
Gotcha. All right, thanks, Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck.
Mm-hmm. All right. Agenda item number 8, update on implementation of the commission's goals and priorities.
This is the monthly report, which lays out the goals and priorities from the Historic Preservation Plan that was recommended by the commission to the City Council and adopted by the City Council. And all changes are noted in bold, and staff can answer any questions.
There was a comment made earlier today about a citywide survey, and I know that correlates with 3.1 and 3.2. I know as I've looked at the historic district boundaries and I look at other homes that are within the period of significance of the homes within that boundary, I was wondering if there was a review of, is that also part of the survey of homes? So there are many homes built in 1940s, Avenue G, so on and so forth, that are not included in the historic district. And I don't know why that was, and I think Courtney's off the call now, or at least I assume she is, but I wasn't sure if that is part of the survey, is also the other historic homes, quote unquote, historic homes, and if that could be reviewed at a future time to, whether it's to make a historic district, a conservation district, or the like. But
I think what you're referring to is 3.1 and 3.2 regarding conducting a citywide reconnaissance level survey on historic resources and completing a citywide historic context statement. And certainly that can be incorporated in all of that, but that wouldn't be to pursue a new historic district.
Okay.
That would just be
for information.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the timeline on that? I know she had to take a little break because of the hotel district, but do you have an idea of how much?
Based on our contract with Broadbent and Associates, I think that's something we'd be looking at within the next fiscal year. Yeah.
Okay. So she cannot work on it until starting maybe July 1st?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, she did start some work, and then, we prioritize the motel historic district. So we have some work that we've done, and we recently applied for a grant to help with that second phase. So it won't be completed until the next fiscal year, but it's still ongoing.
Where's that grant coming from, or potentially?
SHPO.
Oh,
So we
okay.
applied specifically for the second phase for the remainder of that amount. So they would cover us up to 60% of the cost if we did receive the grant.
Great. Anybody have any other comments about this agenda item? Okay. All right. Agenda item number 9, discussion and update on the status of properties in the historic district or other potentially eligible properties.
And again, a monthly report. You will see the March report attached and new information highlighted in bold, and we can answer any questions.
So is this dam by LVCVA still on a potential?
We have been engaging with the post office to look at location of that structure on their property. We haven't gotten any response as of late.
Okay. Anybody have any questions, comments? All right. Moving on to agenda item number 10 for possible action, commission discussion regarding potential agenda items for upcoming Historic Preservation Commission meetings.
I have no agenda items. I just want to say this meeting was stacked. We had 10 items. That's a lot of items.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to include any more for next month.
Thank you.
So we took no action on the lighting of the filtration property. Is that something that we can put on the agenda for next month? Give everybody a chance to take a look, drive by, think about it, maybe read through the proposal, and I don't know if we're quite ready to have staff address that or not, or we can recommend that staff look into potentials and costs and things like that.
I don't know if we have to.
Yeah, I've provided to our Public Works Director who's evaluating it, and obviously it's subject to budget constraints, and it can be something we can take into consideration.
I guess, what were you looking to, do we want to be in part of the process of planning the light plan, I guess? And so
If we are proposing something, we'd bring that back to the commission.
okay, that works.
Okay.
Sounds like it's a go. All right, any other agenda items? But you'll just keep what Chuck comes up with on the agenda,
Yes.
Historic Preservation Day, the usual?
Yep.
Okay. Nothing new. All right, great. Well, now is the final comment period for the evening. Each person has up to 3 minutes to speak on any topic. The public may call 702-589-9629 to provide comment. Anyone in the audience need to come up and speak? Again. There's no one in the audience who wants to speak. There's nobody on the phone. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
I
loved that meeting. It was great. It was a lot of fun.